The Holy Zohar, Hakdama. You know, my friends, when I was young, I never read the Hakdamas, never read the introductions of books. And then as I grew older, I understood that the greatest part of the book is the introduction. The introduction. And you see that with the Zohar, Kodesh. The story of the Holy Tzaddikim. The Holy Rav Chiya was talking about the greatness of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, the Holy Tzaddik, and he was crying. He kissed the dirt on the ground, speaking about this is the earth that the Tzaddik he taught Torah in. He spoke the holy words of the divine. And that the dust itself, he says, O dust, pride not thyself, for the pillars of the world will not be delivered unto thy power, nor will Rabbi Shimon perish within thee. Oy. Rav Chiya then arose, weeping, and set out in the company of Rav Yosef. He fasted from that day for 40 days, in order that he might see his Rebbe, Rabbi Shimon, who had passed. Thou cannot see him, was all the answer to his supplication. He then fasted another 40 days, my friends. And at the end, he saw a vision of Rabbi Shimon and River Lazar, his son, discussing the very subject Rabbi Yossi had explained to him. While thousands were looking on and listening, thousands of souls were in the Garden of Eden, listening to Rabbi Shimon. I'm going to explain to you that when a person goes to the next world, there are many, many chambers where the holy rabbis sit and they speak over words of Torah. And anyone who was involved in this Torah study in his lifetime, this is a great secret, will be able to study that Torah by the tzaddik himself in the world to come. Rabbi Nachman quotes this from the Kabbalah. And so that's why it's very important to round yourself and try to learn as many books as you can, because you're going to have a chelek, you have a part of that, and you have an open key to walk into these chambers in the heavens, in the Gan Eden, in the world to come. And if a person did not learn these books, then they may not be worthy, the door might be closed, and they will not be able to enter. And so in the heavens are rooms and rooms and rooms where these holy tzaddikim are teaching. A person can go in and out of different rooms based on their learning and their connection. If they're connected to a certain Rebbe, then that room is open to them. And so we continue. Here it's 4 o'clock in the morning. You hear the chirping of the animals. And so, meanwhile, there appeared a host of huge winged celestial beings, upon whose wings Rabbi Shimon and his son River Lazar were borne aloft into the heavenly academy, whilst those beings remained at the threshold awaiting them. Their splendor was constantly renewed, and they radiated a light exceeding that of the sun. So Rabbi Shimon then opened his mouth and said, Let Rav Chiya enter, behold, the Holy One, blessed be He, has prepared for the rejoicing of the righteous in the world to come. Happy is he who enters here without misgiving, and happy is he who is established as a strong pillar in the world to come. And so, this is a very rare opportunity that a scholar, doesn't happen all the time, that a scholar is able to enter the Garden of Eden, and he's able to go and see what is going on and taking place, and he's amazed. The light is so bright, brighter than the sun. That is the reward for the righteous. That is how great is the Torah study, how great is the light in the next world. And each person has a crown upon their head and a chamber for themselves of what they've created from their mitzvos and their Torah study in this world, and their kindness to other people. And those chambers can be filled with gold and beautiful lights. And This is based on their merit. And Rav Chiya here is giving an opportunity to see some of this light that surrounds these righteous in the Garden of Eden. Continue. On entering, Rav Chiya noticed that River Lazar and the other great scholars that were sitting near him stood up. He drew back in some embarrassment and sat down at the feet of Rabbi Shimon. A voice thereupon went forth, saying, "Lower thine eyes, raise not thy head, and do not look." He lowered his eyes and discerned a light shining afar. A voice then went forth again, saying, "O ye unseen celestials, ye open-eyed, who swam to and fro throughout the world, behold and see. O ye terrestrial beings who are sunk deep in slumber, awake! Who among you labored to turn darkness into light and bitter into sweet before you entered here? Who among you awaited every day the light that shall break forth, what time the king shall visit his beloved gazelle, and when he will be glorified and called king by all the kings of the world?" So one reason why the Zohar is so great is because of the weight the holy tzaddikim, Rabbi Shimon, express themselves. The passion, the dveikis, the connection to Hashem is unreal. It's unbelievable. And no other book in the world can bring a person closer to Hashem with more dveikis than the Zohar. The Zohar can break a person, all the klipa, all the sin that a person has, especially in Tikkun HaBris and Yesod. The Zohar can tear that into pieces when a person learns it lishma in the right time. Same time, a person who is not worthy, who delves into this, will be attacked by the Sitra Achra, by the other side. And I'm going to bring to you only parts that, and bring it down to you in such a way that it should be beneficial to all who hear it. His eye then fell upon Rav Chiya, who was sitting at the feet of Rabbi Shimon. We're talking about the Mashiach. He took hold, he saw that Rav Chiya is there. And he's thinking, what in the world is this person doing here who doesn't belong? Because he's from the Proverbs. And so we see that it wasn't a bad thing that what the Mashiach was saying here. It wasn't a bad thing that he was saying, let him be gathered in his sons, because to the tzaddikim, to the righteous, the world to come is just taking a step from one room to another, and continuing the avodas Hashem, the way of serving God. And so it wasn't a bad thing. He could have, Rav Shimon could have accepted him in, and he could have continued in seeing this great light, and his portion of Rav Chiya was very great. But instead, Rav Shimon said, let him be granted more time. Rav Chiya went back to this world and continued in his service to bring great light and to teach Torah. And this is a great teaching from the Zohar, in that it shows us a little bit of the portion of the tzaddikim, of the light, of their Torah, of doing the mitzvahs. Every person who does a mitzvah creates this great light for themselves. And the light of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai was something unbelievably great. And so let's get back now to the idea of, this really shows you the greatness of Rav Chiya, to be able to see this revelation. Who has brought here this man, he asked, and who still wears the raiment of the other world? Rav Shimon answered, this is the great Rav Chiya, the shining lamp of the Torah. Let him then, said the Mashiach, be gathered in together with his sons, and let them become members of the academy. Rav Shimon said, let a time of grace be granted to him. A time of grace was then granted to him, and he went forth, trembling at what he had seen, with tears running down his eyes. And he said, happy is the portion of the righteous in this world, and happy is the portion of the son of Yochai who merited such glory. It's concerning such that is written, that I may cause those who love me to inherit a lasting possession, and their treasures will I fill, in Mishlei, in Proverbs. And so we see that it wasn't a bad thing what the Mashiach was saying here. It wasn't a bad thing that he was saying, let him be gathered in his sons, because to the tzaddikim, to the righteous, the world to come is just taking a step from one room to another, and continuing the avodas Hashem, the way of serving God. And so it wasn't a bad thing. He could have, Rav Shimon could have accepted him in, and he could have continued in seeing this great light, and his portion of Rav Chiya was very great. But instead, Rav Shimon said, let him be granted more time. Rav Chiya went back to this world and continued in his service to bring great light and to teach Torah. And this is a great teaching from the Zohar, in that it shows us a little bit of the portion of the tzaddikim, of the light, of their Torah, of doing the mitzvahs. Every person who does a mitzvah creates this great light for themselves. And the light of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai was something unbelievably great.
La la la, ya la la la, ya la 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 la, la la la, la la la, la la la, ya la la la, la la la. Ayor zorua, la tzadik, ayor leishel simcha.